Friends, welcome back to Male Nurse Mentor. My name is Jesse, and today I got a hot take video. I'll be diving into a rather controversial topic, but I think it's a good one. I'm excited for it. I've been wanting to share my thoughts on this for a little bit of time now. I've been dropping little nuggets here and there, but here's a hot take. My thoughts on nurses that leave bedside or don't work bedside are not real nurses. So I want to specifically touch on this topic today because it can be a rather sensitive one for many. Reddit provides a good chunk of evidence that many people doubt their desired decision to actually leave bedside, and many others also seem to contemplate it. And honestly, I get it. I really do. This is one that actually hits quite close to me, as I once upon a time decided to not work bedside, to not work at a hospital. I disliked the inpatient bedside nursing care setting so much I decided to actually not work there professionally after nursing school. And I remember how isolating and lonely that was, that journey of that decision and the outcome of actually following through on that, going to work in county jails and state prisons and not going that route of the hospital, but rather an unconventional route of trying to avoid the hospital because I didn't like it. So my hope is some of the thoughts I share in the video today will help those on the fence or those hesitant getting into nursing because they think they have to work bedside, by breaking down this idea that a nurse is not a nurse if they're not working bedside care. And before I begin, specifically in this video, I'll be explaining what classifies as bedside nursing care. I'll also speak on the main reasons why nurses don't want to work bedside care, and I'll also touch on some of the many reasons why nurses are hesitant to even leave bedside care to begin with. And of course, this wouldn't be a proper hot take video if I don't give you my actual unfiltered take on this topic, which I actually will provide at the end. So use those timestamps down below if you want to jump around in the video, you're short on time. Use those, they're right there for you. But otherwise, let's begin. So what is bedside nursing? In short, bedside nursing is most often known as nursing services provided during inpatient stays. Inpatient stays are typically patients that are being provided care in skilled nursing facilities, hospitals, acute rehab, or any place such as those that provide more acute style care. A place where nurses are often required 24/7 or around the clock, closer observation. Typically it involves the patient staying overnight, being given a bed. This is an inpatient stay. Thus, these patients are there to be cared for 24/7. Now, to give you an opposite example of this, think of a clinic. Patients just come and go on their own time with their own transportation to present for a medical appointment that day. They come in, they leave, and that's it, right? Bedside nursing is often the style of nursing that you think of when you think of nurses that work in hospitals, or often just nursing in general. The care being provided in hospitals is often the best example of this, and most nurses are often found working in that setting. In that setting, these nurses hold a lot of responsibility, not just for the patient, but as a member of the actual care team. And to expand a bit more, nurses in a hospital setting are with these patients the 24/7 hours. A nurse is always around. That ongoing involvement is what gets emotionally and physically taxing as days turn to weeks, weeks turn to months, months turn to years, years turn to decades and careers. That is the easiest way for me to explain bedside nursing care. Now, the main reason why nurses decide to leave. So imagine being a waiter at a restaurant that is open 24/7, and the chefs are in the back cooking the meals served. Sometimes the chefs are seen, sometimes they're not seen. The waiter is seen all the time. They are the face. And I don't mean this analogy to be disrespectful, but the nurses are the waiters when you think of bedside care. Just follow me here. And the chefs are the physicians. The nurses, just like the waiter in a restaurant, tends to the clients or the customers the most. They facilitate the meal from start to finish. They hear the complaints, and they are responsible for the patient's overall experience. And as we know, the waiters are managing multiple tables all at the same time. They aren't just managing one table. A nurse does exactly this, but just with patients in healthcare. In a nutshell, this analogy is why I feel most nurses eventually want to or decide to leave bedside care. Because can you imagine doing this day after day for years? Also, nursing school really doesn't paint this picture for you. They don't explain bedside nursing in this way. I had to see it firsthand over time. It's just how I felt. I'm curious to know if other people felt this way. But analogy aside, right? Nurses want to leave bedside because it is emotionally and physically taxing to be a good nurse. The demand to be the face of the medical care team, the demand for management to do more with less resources, and the demand from the patients to provide medical, emotional, physical support throughout the duration of a 12 8-hour shift, regardless of how the nurse feels that day, is very difficult. Bedside nursing is truly a job where it really doesn't matter how it is you actually feel that day. When you go into work, a nurse is required to shelf their emotions and give their energy to their patients. And on top of this, make sure no one dies on their shift, ensure patients are actually getting the medical plan of care that they were provided, told about, and that patients also get a great stay that they would recommend when they're feeling miserable and they're sick. That is a tough gig. That is bedside. So why are nurses hesitant to leave bedside? Just from speaking to numerous nurses and also speaking for myself and my personal experience, right? The most common causes of hesitations or concerns are these. Nurses feel they may lose out on certain skills. They have concerns that they may forget certain skills. They feel they may be perceived poorly by nursing colleagues. There are concerns on how would they ever return to the hospital if they had to. There are fears they would become unemployable if they leave. Also, there's an awareness that good nursing jobs actually exist outside of bedside. And they think leaving bedside would just tarnish their careers altogether. Something they work so hard for, right? Which is an RN degree. All of these just to name a few. I'm sure there's many more. And now, last but not least, what is my actual take on this topic? What do I think about the nurses who decide to leave bedside? My honest take is I support these nurses, and I personally want to provide kudos, so much kudos, to the few nurses that do decide to leave. To leave bedside despite the many stereotypes, the poor perceptions, the fears of ruining their career, and the overall loneliness of this decision. My channel will always support these nurses. And I think more and more nurses are starting to see this and accept it and normalize this decision here. To accept those nurses that decide to take a different path in their nursing career. I will always be the first to raise my hand and say I never liked bedside nursing. I never wanted to work there either. I personally never did work bedside as a professional nurse. And I knew early on, as a student, how much I disliked that aspect of nursing and the customer service part that's attached to it and everything else you have to juggle as a bedside nurse. For me, I took the risk to pave my own path, and I realized a nurse does not have to work bedside to be a good nurse, to be a real nurse, to be a nurse. It is not a requirement at all. Despite what instructors told me, despite what a lot of the teachers were telling me, it's not a requirement at all. To leave bedside, to never work bedside, it's just a different path. And sure, it'll look different, it'll feel different. You'll experience challenges in some other ways that maybe if you just work bedside, you wouldn't have to face or feel. But remember, I'll remind you here today, that is okay. So in summary, it is a lie that a nurse who doesn't work bedside is not a real nurse or a good nurse. And that is my take. And that's gonna be it, friends. My thoughts on the hot take on nurses that leave bedside. Remember to hit the subscribe button for more videos like this. Leave a comment down below, I'll get back to you. Or look me up on Instagram at Male Nurse Mentor. Send me a DM, I'm around. And see you on the next one.